Snipers, you have to see what's happening to the Bitcoin price today as we have reached a new all-time high above 60,000 US dollars, just below our target of 61,000 US dollars, exactly like we predicted in our video a week ago, breaking out of this ascending triangle and seeing a beautiful run up to new all-time highs. I want to talk about what Bitcoin is going to do during this weekend and what I'm expecting now that we've reached a new all-time high, and then we'll take a look at what's happening to the Ethereum chart. You can see we're still seeing some weakness here for the Ethereum to Bitcoin chart, and then we'll cover traditional markets as we saw the daily and weekly candles close for last week. You guys are watching the Snipers channel. My name is Naeem Al-Abeidi. If you appreciate this content, remember to like this video. So we do have a very key level that we want to draw on our chart, and that is going to be the previous all-time high at 58,353. To me at this point, as long as Bitcoin is above 58,353, which is now the previous all-time high, then we are going to see a lot of potential bullish momentum over the next couple of days. But realize that at this point, we could have potentially formed a higher high, and at this point, I do still have that $61,000 level as the final target, or around that range, of course, for Bitcoin. And so at this point, because this is happening on the weekend, of course, we know this is when markets are the most manipulated. We have to realize that if we were to stay above this level, we would most likely consolidate here through the weekend until we start to see traditional markets open, and for us to see where those markets are going to head throughout the start of this week, because of the fact that Bitcoin likes to follow some traditional markets. Of course, the S&P 500 being a very closely correlated market with Bitcoin. You can see we ended the week just below breaking a new all-time high here. And now when we look at the Bitcoin CME chart as well, you can see we do have a CME gap forming here for Bitcoin on the daily chart. When we look at this last candle high, it was at 58,725. And so that means that 58,725 is going to be a CME gap for Bitcoin if we open above that level. And I'll go ahead and put that on the chart here, and you can see it's right there by the previous all-time high. And so as I have talked about in the last week or so, we were expecting Bitcoin to come to 61,000 US dollars, and I mentioned that we were either going to form a lower high or a higher high. And so I'm going to stick with that prediction for now, that this is a higher high. I'd like to see how we act up, above the previous all-time high in the next couple of days in order to get a better grasp of where I believe future price action is going to take us. Do I expect Bitcoin during this weekend to just run up to 70,000? Probably not, just because of the fact that the traditional markets are closed. Of course, we know the weekend is the most manipulated for this market, and now we have a CME gap here, and we just broke new all-time highs, which is a great thing. Now, let's take a look at what's happening to the volume to just kind of get a better perspective of how the next couple of weeks are going to turn out. So when we look at this breakout, you can see here with the 4-hour chart, we are seeing some very nice volume come in. Nothing substantial to go home and tell grandma about, but enough volume that we could continue higher, because remember, what is the path of least resistance? It's always going to be sideways to a little bit higher. I've always talked to you guys about that. And so you can see the same type of volume that we're seeing right now is the type of volume that we needed to get from that $45,000 level all the way up to 58,000. And so you can see it's very similar type of volume coming in. And this to me is enough volume for Bitcoin to really be the strongest asset in the market if we keep seeing buyers come in like this without much sell pressure. You can see not much sell pressure here. The last time we saw sell pressure was on the 22nd of February. And so volume doesn't look bad. We know the path of least resistance is always going to be sideways to a little bit higher. You can see we've got ascending volume here for the buyers. And so things are looking very good for the next couple of weeks, I think, until we start to see more price action at this range. I don't want to go too far into predictions further than the 61,000 target that we've had here on our chart for the last week, but I am expecting either for us to consolidate above 58,353 at this point, or we just come below this level and we continue the consolidation in this range, which wouldn't be a bad thing either, as long as we're above the weekly open at 50,000 and we're above 49,700. I told you guys this yesterday. I believe Bitcoin is extremely bullish above 49,700 regardless of the fact. And so whether this is a consolidation, whether this is just going to form a bull flag and continue even further up, that we don't know yet. But what I can tell you is that our numbers have been on the dot, of course. Our market structures have been on the dot. And so this has been a very expected breakout for Bitcoin. So it's very exciting to see this, and exactly like we predicted, Ethereum is seeing more weakness than Bitcoin. You can see here that we have yet to reach our target of 1981, but I told you guys that we had this bullish flag forming and that we had this weekly open, and you can see we did come to knock on that door a third time, but because Bitcoin's price action was strong, we saw Ethereum to the US dollar break out to the upside. Now realize that with the Ethereum to Bitcoin chart, the reason we're seeing more weakness for Ethereum than Bitcoin right now is because of this chart. You can see we are struggling to get above the monthly open and the previous weekly open, and so we do have to keep that in mind right now, that the Ethereum to Bitcoin chart is still looking extremely weak in comparison to Bitcoin, and because of that, we're starting to see Bitcoin dominance come up above this major level of 61.75. Now we're above the monthly open and the weekly open, so we do want to keep this on our radar just in case we start to see Bitcoin dominance reverse. And the reason I say that is, guess who's back on the chart? The 50 and 100 and 200 period moving average, and it's currently being tested for Bitcoin dominance. And so you can see the 200 period moving average on the daily chart has acted as a very strong support in the past, a very strong resistance, and right now we're coming up to test the 200 period moving average. On the weekly chart, you can see we're still below the 20-week moving average and the 50-week moving average, but we are above this 200-week moving average, and you could theoretically say we've already tested it with strength because we didn't even get to come in and touch that with our wick, but we came very close. And so we do want to keep Bitcoin dominance on our charts for now to see whether or not this is coming towards a point of a reversal to the upside. As you guys know, we were watching Ethereum to Bitcoin for the same type of reversal as well as the DXY, and so far Ethereum to Bitcoin has broken back down below the 20-week moving average after EIP 1559 was announced and the miners started to talk about potential rebellious actions that they were going to take against the Ethereum network. And then of course with the Binance Smart Chain coming in, that ended up being a failed reversal so far. And so the same thing with Bitcoin dominance. Now we want to watch this chart just like we were watching Ethereum to Bitcoin as well as the DXY. And so we will cover the DXY in just a second, but I do want to look at others' dominance. We're looking very strong here. We did reach our target at on the 5th of March for others' dominance, but so far we haven't seen a breakdown or any signs of a reversal. We're above the monthly open, the previous weekly open, and this structural support level. And so others' dominance is looking very good. The total cryptocurrency market, you can see we are wicking above, forming this higher high just like Bitcoin right now, and I am expecting this to really follow Bitcoin's price action as it usually does, with Bitcoin being the major player in this market. Now I do want to talk about what's happening to traditional markets, because we did close the week and now we have this bearish candle for the DXY with a rejection at the weekly open, and we closed the week with that candle. And so that is actually very exciting for next week, because if we start to see the DXY come down, that could be very positive for Bitcoin and other assets. Of course, what we want to watch right now is the 100 period moving average here on the DXY. If we open the week and we come to test this, if it doesn't hold, then the monthly open is going to be a very key level, and it's right at this major level of 91.015. And so we have to watch whether or not this support is going to hold for the dollar, because I think this support level is going to determine whether or not the dollar is going to break down and continue to see downside, or if it's going to reverse back to the upside. If that's the case, I'd like to see that happen at the 100 period moving average, not 91.015 or 90.929. But so far we have seen a rejection, and it was even before the 200-day moving average and this major resistance at 92.62. So this could show us that this is also a fake out like the Ethereum to Bitcoin chart was, as we are above the 20-week moving average for the DXY. But if we come down to that monthly open, like I've been telling you, and we fail to maintain support, that could be detrimental for the DXY, which would be positive for assets. But if we bounce, then we want to keep this on our charts, of course, into next week. So far, the daily candle closed very bearish with a nice tail here bouncing from the weekly open. And then you can see we have pretty much an indecision candle here on the weekly for the DXY. So we do want to monitor this, but so far, exactly like we've been predicting has been unfolding. The DXY talked about this potentially coming back and a fake out with US oil. Of course, that's what it looks like so far. Oil closing the week very strong, right next to the weekly open, above the monthly open. And so we want to keep that in mind, because once again, the DXY you can see is below the weekly open and also above the monthly open. And these two assets are typically inversely correlated. And so they're both showing similar structures right now, but I think that's going to change into next week, maybe a couple weeks from now. But really, this should unfold into the next week. So we will be monitoring that. And then we look at gold. It looks like it closed the week strong. You can see we're starting to see good volume come in here. And then we have this very bullish candle with a bounce at the weekly open, the opposite of the DXY. And so very interesting close to the week, guys. I mean, Bitcoin breaking into new all-time highs as we enter into the weekend, just like expected. Ethereum seeing some weakness because of all of the FUD. And then we look at the DXY closing bearish as if it's going to continue to see downside into next week. But then gold, look at this, closing bullish, right? And oil still showing bullish price action. So our thesis has been very, very exact. And that's the fact that the assets are continuing to inflate in price while the DXY is losing more and more value, regardless of the fact that the DXY has been trying to fake people out over the last couple of days, or at least that's what it seems so far. And so a lot happening right now. The S&P 500, you can see also closing a bullish wick, looking like it wants to break into new highs. And then international markets couldn't have been better. The Euro 100 closing with a nice bullish wick into new yearly highs. Japan coming up, looking like a very nice continuation candle here to see more upside into the next week. Shanghai Composite, very bullish candle above the 100 period moving average. And then Hong Kong, you can see very similar to the Shanghai Composite. It is showing strength, in my opinion, regardless of the fact that we closed below the 100-day moving average, because we didn't get to touch this 200-day moving average before seeing this reversal back to the upside. And so I believe that things are looking very good into next week. And so this was very predicted and expected of Bitcoin to come above 60,000. And congratulations to those that have been riding Bitcoin with your long-term portfolios. Of course, you always want to have separate portfolios for trading and separate portfolios for your long-term holds. And for your long-term holds, you never want to touch that portfolio, right? You just want a dollar cost average over time. And so what a momentous and amazing day for all of us here in the community. And I do want to give away a book to one of you guys watching this video. If you want to enter into this book giveaway, just comment below and share this video, and I'll be giving away Trading Psychology, the Bible for Traders. And I'll pick a winner for our video yesterday, and then we will wrap this video up. Let's see. Andy Pasha says, "You are the man." You went ahead and won a book, Andy. Go ahead and send me a message on Instagram, and I'll go ahead and get that book to you. Congratulations. For those that want to enter into this giveaway, just comment below and share this video. And with that being said, guys, thank you so much for all of the amazing support. It is an exciting weekend, and I can't wait to see how Sunday and the next week will unfold from here. Thank you, and until next time, Snipers out.